Hey, good morning. Tuesday, May 24th, here in New York City. Okay. 8:30 in the morning. In the mid-60s, so it's a beautiful temperature out. We're starting our walk here on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. We're right by the Guggenheim. Gorgeous and well-known architecture. So we're on 5th Avenue at about 89th Street, making our way south. Thanks everybody for being here. Feel free to say hello, let us know where you're watching from.
Yes. I mean,
in the chat. Let's get another view of the Guggenheim. Beautiful building. A fun museum. Recommend it if you're in town.
And look at her. She probably just wants to play with him and tackle him.
So this early we will see, on a weekday, we'll see people commuting to work. And lots of people out for exercise or to walk their dogs. Beautiful temperature today. It was very hot this weekend, not so today. And in fact, I think it's cloudy. So it's especially cool right now. Had rain here and there, so the city's plants are looking especially green, beautiful. As we make our way down 5th Avenue, we have Central Park to our right. But today we're going to walk on the 5th Avenue side. We'll see how many buses we can walk faster then. A couple blocks we'll see the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Try not to get hit by the bus. Okay, not making a turn. My wife generally prefers I come home in one piece. Is a playground here called Ancient Playground. Kind of early, and actually it looks like it might be being cleaned right now or doing some landscaping. We will not make this light.
Whatever. I mean, whatever.
We've made it to the Met, though. Metropolitan Museum of Art. This is my favorite museum in the city. Beautiful morning here in New York City, about 65 degrees, only going up to about 68 or 70 today. We didn't have our light now. So a nice cool day for May. Super hot this weekend, not so today. So we're here at the Met, walking down their tree-lined promenade. Early enough in the day that there will not be so many people on the famous steps to the Met. Here it is. Gorgeous building. Advertising the Winslow Homer Cross Currents exhibition. Really wonderful. Recommend it if you visit New York City while it's still on show. Everything's getting a nice shine before the tourists arrive and the visitors. Also have the fountains here, which look like they have a little soap in them. Hopefully on purpose. Continuing our way south along 5th Avenue. Now at 81st Street for the other tree-lined portion of the Metropolitan Promenade. Later in the day, you just see a lot of vendors here selling usually art. Looks like they've got their tables set up, holding their spaces. Coming up on 79th Street, which is surrounded by these amazing mansions. Very ornate. Now the Ukrainian American Institute. via Albertine. Beautiful bookstore with the most incredible ceilings you've ever seen. The buildings just go on and on. Make our way across now. We've got the dog walkers. Good morning to all the dogs. So many. Let's take a peek in here. We're not really going to go to Central Park today, but just saw so many on the hill, we might as well take a look at that site. That's something. Guess we'll do a little bit. We'll go to one of my favorite spots, the Conservatory Water. Why not? Look how many there are. So most people in New York City don't have lawns, but if that's where you take your morning walk, not too shabby. Just a couple over on this side.
I realized that I didn't pack any of the right clothes.
Beautiful morning here in New York City. Mid-60s today. Nice breeze, a little cloudy. Not one of our hot days like we had this weekend. My beautiful wife Lisa's here. Good morning, Lisa. Sometimes, in fact, many times, she joins us on the live streams, but schedule does not allow today. But very lucky to have her in the chat.
Hates this stuff.
Thank you, Lisa. I was planning to walk along Fifth Avenue, but we saw so many dogs in the park that we came in. We'll see Conservatory Water just up ahead. And then I'll probably head back to Fifth Avenue. Look at that one go. So Conservatory Water, famous for as a sort of sailboat pond, so you sometimes see small model boats. A little too early today, but summer afternoon days, you'd see little model boats roaming the water. If you're also watching, say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. Always love to know. Yeah, a little impromptu. Must follow the spirit. Such a beautiful day. Looks like in the distance you have a family of birds hanging out in the water. All the families are here today, no matter the species. If you come to Conservatory Water, they do have a Le Pan. You can get a sandwich or soup, other things. It's a beautiful way to spend some time. Though on a really nice afternoon day, you might have a long line there. Coming up the hill is Pilgrim Hill. There is a statue of a pilgrim, though I don't know which one, who the human was. We'll have to find that out one day. But all the hills seem to be the go-to spots for the dogs to run free and get their exercise in. Some of them on their own doing a little exploring. Funny. Get our heart rate up here a little bit as we walk up. Waldo Hutchins. President of the Park Board. Beautiful seating area. It says founder of Central Park. Very cool. So I think this is where we will say goodbye to the park, head back to Fifth Avenue. Just a quick pop in to see the animals. More graduates are here. We've seen many NYU graduates on our walks recently. Big congratulations to all the graduates and to the family of the graduates. Happy occasion.
I understand that. Listen, until death, but you know, say you have to feel it.
I was trying to tell them.
Okay, we've made it back to Fifth Avenue. Our next site along the way will be the Frick Mansion. Still undergoing renovations, so the collection, famous art collection, is at a temporary location, Frick Madison. Not far from here. Maggie is here. Good morning, Maggie. Tuning in just outside of New York City. So this is the Frick Mansion, Frick Collection. Currently undergoing some renovations. And I've noticed, I don't see it here today, but I think they might be having some disputes with the people doing the work or not doing the work. They had the famous union busting rat. So when unions in New York are especially upset, usually because a construction firm or real estate firm is using non-union labor, or they have a dispute of some sort. They bring out the rat. I see the people, I don't see the rat today, but maybe it's a little early. A very funny New York City sight. Whenever you see those rats in front of a building, it's so embarrassing. It's very evocative. Maggie says, my brother-in-law worked at Frick for years. It always felt like I was snooping around someone's house when I was there. It's the best. Yeah, I mean, that's funny. People are very aware that there is graduation ceremonies going on. So there's lots of impromptu sellers of flowers and teddy bears and so forth. Capitalism in New York, very strong. Yeah, so to return to Maggie's point, yeah, the Frick is really incredible. It is like being in someone's living room, you know, except their living room is the size of a museum, literally, covered in the most incredible paintings. It must be cool to work there, and I bet after hours, especially later in the day or at night, I'm sure it would not surprise me if they had a friendly ghost or two. And I know we've said it on another stream, but I find it really funny that New York has an extra museum lying around, so they were able to put the Frick's collection, or at least big parts of it, in the Frick Madison, so you can still experience the art. And it's a modern art museum, the other location, versus a ornate private residence. So seeing the art in a totally different context is really interesting, and not something you get to do all the time, except for when art, usually a piece or two pieces travel for an exhibition. This is an entire collection. Yeah, living room the size of a New York City block. It's so incredible. Okay, so we were in Central Park earlier, so we missed a little. But our game when we started was, how many of these buses can we walk faster than? At the moment they're beating me, but I think the lights are going to change. And if they block the intersection, I can get past them. So Fifth Avenue often runs at about 4 or 5 miles per hour. My wife and I will sometimes take a Fifth Avenue bus to go to usually like a dinner or something, a different part of town. And she likes the bus, but you have to reserve quite a bit of time if you want to go down Fifth Avenue. It's a fun bus ride, but it just not particularly a fast one. All right, we're coming up on viewer Donna's, one of her favorite sites, the Arsenal. Worth reading a little bit of the history. It's one of the only buildings, as I understand it, that predated the park. And as the name implies, had to do, we have various armories and arsenals around the city, so had a military context. Now home to the New York City Parks Department. I think it's their headquarters. And I do think the Central Park Zoo, which is right here, also has some space in there. Beautiful building. Lisa says, truly the scenic route. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to take a local bus, you know, just about 80 blocks, that's the scenic route. Okay, we're making good time again, beating our buses. We're probably going 3.5 miles an hour and we're going faster than them. But 65 degrees, beautiful breeze, clouds overhead, so it's nice and cool. Rained recently, so the trees are as green as they get. I think this is called the Knickerbocker Club. It's a red brick building, really beautiful. We stood near it. That was our chosen location during the St. Patrick's Day parade. And they had a little terrace. I think you can see the sort of beach umbrellas or cafe umbrellas right there. Those people had a really wonderful view and probably their choice of cocktail. More graduates coming our way. Again, big congrats to all the graduates and the graduates in your lives. I watched some of I'm going to forget the exact name of the school, but it was like Yale's Environmental Studies School. I had a family member graduated. It was fun to see them in their fancy gown. So just past 61st Street, coming up on 60 and 59, where we will see the Plaza, Grand Army Plaza, the Plaza Hotel, Apple Fifth Avenue, Bergdorf Goodman, Tiffany and Company. Pick your poison. Lisa's favored, Strand, although probably prefers the location at Union Square. And let's go say hi. Can't walk by without saying hello. One of our favorite photographers, Deanne Arbus. Say hello. Hello, Deanne. And let's pan over and try not to get hit by cars at the same time, but we'll pan over to Billionaires Row, 57th Street, and the Plaza Hotel. So this is Manhattan's Grand Army Plaza. If you're familiar with Grand Army Plaza, you may also know one from Brooklyn. This is ours here. And this is the Plaza Hotel. Some of our fancy billionaire buildings in the background today. Cloudy, but the clouds are not so low as to obscure them. We will wait to cross the street so we can see some of the blooms on Fifth Avenue, as they're called, which is the painted floral arches up ahead from the jeweler Van Cleef. I don't do a lot of jewelry shopping there, so my apologies if I got the pronunciation wrong. I'm walking with my sorts of people who are commanding this the avenue for our walking. So these are called the Blooms on Fifth Avenue. Nice little temporary installation. Fun to walk by. Great photo ops. And I think we'll stay on this side. We're usually often on the other side, but we'll do a little window shopping on this side. This is the gentleman's side of the street for Bergdorf Goodman, a department store I do none of my shopping at. A little out of my price range. But if you're in the market for a tailored suit or a $400 swimsuit, can point you in the right direction. Coming up on Tiffany. Let's see some more bloom while we're over here. So this is the store that, as I understand it, sponsored the Blooms on Fifth Avenue, Van Cleef and Arpels. Caddy corner from Tiffany and Company, which has been covered in scaffolding for quite a long time now. I hope whenever they're done. Oh. Sorry, a little complicated with the mic right now. Anyways, I hope when Tiffany takes the scaffolding down, I hope it's a really beautiful sight. Hope it was worth it all. So still early enough that we'll be seeing folks commuting to work.
Shine like that over there.
Bulgari and Mikimoto. And up ahead, Harry Winston. So lots of opportunities to do a little jewelry shopping. And some of the really beautiful churches here in Midtown Manhattan on Fifth Avenue. And one driver neglected to go, giving us a little break in the traffic. Aren't these fun? I love the way they're painted. Adding a little color to our walk today. And they go for quite a bit, more than 10 blocks, I think. So we'll try to see a bunch of them. But let's ask the audience, Lisa in particular, do we have any guesses as to what our destination is today?
No.
And anyone's welcome to guess where they think we're headed today. My only hint is we are taking the scenic route. Another one of the beautiful churches on Fifth Avenue in Midtown, St. Thomas. I'll give Lisa one more hint. The date today is relevant to our destination. I would think that would give it away. The date is relevant to our destination. No, in fact, I think we're going to detour at some point so that we will probably not see Washington Square Park today. Robert Flynn says Empire State Building. A good guess. We will see it. Not our destination, though. But we will see the Empire State Building today. I'll make sure of it. So it is May 24. If anybody wants to look up May 24 in New York City, see what anniversaries we have today. And Robert Flynn, thank you for being here. What time is it where you are? In Scotland, if I remember correctly. So this one is sort of like a phone booth. You can sit inside of it. Funny. And coming up on the really beautiful St. Patrick's Cathedral, very famous, well known. Right by Rockefeller Center and Saks Fifth Avenue. So I think the time has come. So our chosen destination is the Brooklyn Bridge. We are truly taking the scenic route today, which is why I'm walking somewhat fast, because I have a destination in mind, and it is the Brooklyn Bridge's, if I remember correctly, 139th birthday today. So 139 years ago it opened to the public. So we are quite far from there, but it is a beautiful day. The temperature is pretty mild. The legs are feeling strong. So we are going to get our exercise in today, and then some. But in doing so, and by starting on Fifth Avenue, there are about 1 million sights we can see along the way, so I think it'll be an interesting walk. And I think if you're familiar with the channel and the ridiculously long walks that I often take, and long videos, you've probably captured that my philosophy is that the journey is as important as the destination. All right, we're gonna try to cross the street here and hope that the turning does not begin. I'm a aggressive New York walker, but I did see that the turning light wasn't on yet. So Robert Flynn mentioned the Empire State Building. You can begin to see it in the distance, poking its head out. We'll go by it shortly. We're at 48th Street. It's at 34th Street to give you a sense of the distance. So that's 14 blocks, almost a mile, about 3/4 of a mile. just about 20 blocks to a mile. So we started at 89th Street next to the Guggenheim. So we've just hit our first 40 blocks, or 2 miles. We're feeling good. As the sign up ahead says, impossible is nothing. Could all use a little motivation today, I am sure. Beautiful Midtown Manhattan, covered in construction right now. And if you've seen some of my other videos, I took a video walking up Fifth Avenue in the rain. On a rainy day, you don't really complain about the scaffolding. Keeps you dry. It is a little bit of a joke how much scaffolding there is up in New York at all times. Oh well. In theory, it keeps us safe from things falling off of buildings and other safety issues. The ones we're walking underneath now and up ahead, you'll see in a second, are these fancy scaffolding, which have slightly nicer design. They're much taller, but they also have lighting built in. So you'll see some of the, usually the fancier retail stores or buildings, office buildings, use this scaffolding. A little nicer, feels like it might be a little safer as well. Coming up on 45th Street, so if we were to turn, let's stop in here and see the French building for a second. Check this out. Isn't that gorgeous? It's the French building. Oh, I was saying, so we're at 45th Street now, so if we started to hang a left, we could make our way over to Grand Central. But we're going to stay on 5th for a bit. Told Robert Flynn we would see the Empire State Building, but we're also going to see the New York Public Library before we see the Empire State Building. Lisa says, you know, I like a good ceiling. I had to stop for you. You're not here, so I have to show you. So I was saying when we were by the Frick Mansion, was telling a little story about the rats that unions use during a dispute with a company, usually because that company's not using union labor. And I see a giant inflated pig up ahead, so I'm imagining that's a similar tale. Probably a company that is doing construction using labor that they don't agree with or practices that they don't agree with. So the pig thus representing the greedy owners. When I get to the corner, I'll try to get a shot of it. Funny New York City sight. We like our unions. we wish them success.
12 hours, do that twice.
So coming up on 42nd Street to our left, and we'll take a look. Grand Central Terminal and the Chrysler Building to our right. New York Public Library, where we'll be in a minute. Bryant Park. And if you continue to Broadway, you'd get to Times Square. Sense of are. I think we'll have to see some of the too hard to see on the camera, so give me a second. Meantime, building I'm pointing at right now is the New York Public Library, the main branch. Highly recommend visiting. They always have neat exhibits that are free. You know I love a good free exhibit. Let's see if we can get the Chrysler Building in frame. Just beautiful. I see we're having some connection slowdown, so I'm going to just pause here for a second and see if we can get it to catch up with us. All right, starting to see our signal strength come back. Sorry for that, everybody. Seems as if our beloved New York Public Library did not feel like being seen today. Don't know if you could hear me say it, but I said hello, Kanogo. Thank you for being here. afraid I can only read in English, so not sure the rest of what you said, but hello, thank you for being here. Appreciate your company on this walk. So we're at the New York Public Library, but the connection just, I thought if I stood still over there for a bit, it might recover, but it didn't, so onwards we go. Make our way to 34th Street, where we'll see the Empire State Building. Another ornate building entrance. Not as ornate as the French building. Walking in New York City. Not your quietest walk in the world, or most peaceful, but it has its own charm. So we've made it to 37th Street. For those of you just joining, we started on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, 89th Street. Making our way down 5th Avenue. At some point we will turn, but we're going to take 5th for a bit, and our ultimate intended destination is the Brooklyn Bridge, which is having a birthday today. 139 years young. This is the Langham Hotel. Lisa says the true soundtrack of the city. Yes, it is. It's either that or a siren. And if you're in Central Park, it might be a helicopter. Your choice.
Maybe too slow.
We tell ourselves it is, of course, all part of the charm. All of the above. Get some nice t-shirts here. I'll refrain from reading them on camera. So across the street is one of the City University of New York CUNY buildings. It's the graduate school. It says Graduate School for the Public Good. We are big fans and proponents of CUNY. So we're coming up on 34th Street, where I will point the camera up so we can see our good friend, the Empire State Building. And it'd be annoying and get on this side so we can have as much of a good angle as possible on this side of the street, at least. So it looks like we might get the light, in which case I'll hop across the street, get an even better view. Yes, we'll get the light. Try not to get hit by this bus. The suspense must be killing you all. me know if you see any giant apes. So if we were to walk down 34th Street, we would get to Macy's, not too far from here. And even farther still, we could get to Hudson Yards, which we will do soon. That is on my to-do list because it's been a minute since we've been there. And this weekend, as Lisa and I walked on the West Side waterfront, we could see the High Line. It looked like one of the extension spurs on the High Line was open. It's been closed for a really long time. So we will make our way over to Hudson Yards and the High Line soon and do that walk. I love the High Line. I think it's one of the really cool additions to the city in recent years. And I love things that, they found an interesting way to make a creative use of some of this older and disused, but really interesting infrastructure, the rail lines, literally. So it's really cool. So we'll go there soon. But today we will continue down Fifth Avenue. Our next major site will be Madison Square Park. Not to be confused with, and not the location of, Madison Square Garden. Prince Ice is here. Hello. Let us know the time in Korea. Need a time check in Korea. On the mic today is just me. Lisa's at home today. Let's pause here at the intersection because one of my other favorite sites off in the distance, the Gimbals Bridge. Highly recommend looking up the Gimbals Bridge. You can see it in the distance. It's one of those sky passageways between two buildings. I love that stuff. You often see there's some in Tribeca, there's a famous one. I love them. 10:30 p.m. We seem to always get you around 10:30 p.m. Hopefully you were able to finish work a little earlier today. And I also saw Donna. Donna, good morning. Thank you for being here. Hello. I mentioned you earlier, and hopefully you'll be able to do a rewatch at some point, at least the beginning. Because we did walk by the Arsenal. We've been on Fifth Avenue thus far, with one detour into Central Park to see some dogs having their morning walk. Okay, this looks complicated up ahead. Don't see that every day. Looks expensive. So anyways, while we wait, we started at 89th Street on the Upper East Side. Have been walking mostly down Fifth Avenue. But our intended destination today is the Brooklyn Bridge. Ooh, this looks super tight. Okay, I think the traffic has stopped. So I will try to safely make my way this way, if I can. Also want to just get away from the beeping. Okay, so we're making our way down Fifth Avenue. Next stop, if I don't see anything that catches my eye again, is Madison Square Park. I was saying distinct and not the location of Madison Square Garden, but the history is shared. The original Madison Square Gardens, of which I forget exactly. I think the current one might be the fourth, but the first two at least were located at Madison Square Park, thus the shared name. So Madison Square Park, East 20s, Madison Square Garden, West 30s, probably a 15-minute walk-ish from one to the other, at least at my pace. Gosh, it's a beautiful day. If you're just joining, feel free to hit the like button. It will help other people find the channel, find the chat, and join us. If you just joined, say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. Feel free to even let us know what the time is where you are. Always curious. If you've never heard of this channel before, we take walks around New York City. Most of the time, I record walks as I go in my day-to-day life. And film them in such a way it's kind of immersive. It's like you're taking the walk. But today the Spirit moved us to do a live stream, and that spirit is that it is the 139th birthday of the Brooklyn Bridge. So we're taking a super long walk all the way there. We're going to see a lot along the way. So leave a like. Feel free to subscribe. It'll help other people join us. Join this little New York City community we're building. And introduce yourself so we grow the little fam. Thank you for being here. Donna says, oh no, I can't believe I missed the Arsenal. Well, good thing is it's still there for you later. And this was unscheduled, unplanned, and originally I had the wrong time. But I'm grateful folks have made their way here. Prince, I missed your question. What was the line for? That's a good question. I'm afraid I didn't capture it. I'm sorry. That's a good question. I'm trying to think if I know what could be over there. Lisa M says, Lisa M, my beautiful wife, those lines are usually for sample sales. Yeah, in this area, it's kind of, we're near the garment district, but on this particular stretch, they have all these unused retail stores on Fifth Avenue. And so, you know, DKNY or Boss or whatever will take one of those unused spots and put in sample merchandise. So these are, you know, these could have been things that they made special for, you know, runway and other stuff. It could be sizes that haven't sold. It could be merchandise that they decided ultimately not to retail. It could be, Donna says, Weaver, Alabama, 8:35 a.m. Well, good morning. We're always glad that folks choose to start their day. I try to post my walks at around 8 a.m. New York time every day. And I've been trying to post a little bit of New York City every day. I'll see if I can keep that up. And we've been doing these live streams more and more. Usually once a week, but again, the Spirit moved us today. So we're here in Madison Square Park. Lots of, there's the dog park that we just saw, there's playground, so you see in general many younger children here. It's a great place. Kids get to play at the playground. Parents get to relax. It's often quite beautiful, and they usually have different art installations, although I think they're letting the lawn breathe. So no art at the moment. But I'm sure there'll be stuff soon. And then speaking of activities for kids, there's one of those singers who sings children's songs. We'll probably hear some as we walk by in a moment. And then for the older children among us is the original Shake Shack, outdoor location with tons of outdoor seating. It's a really fun spot. And the sign over there does read art installation in progress. So something will come soon, and we'll be sure to check it out. Our little family entertainment there. That's fun. We got the fountain. And as I said, tons of seating here. It's a really great meeting spot. You can have lunch at Shake Shack, or you can bring your own food, or food from somewhere else, whatever you want. Tons of seating here. And next to us is Broadway. And this is actually our first major detour off of Fifth Avenue. We're going to take Broadway from here. But we're going to wait for the light to change because I spotted an orb. Let's go check out the orb. Try not to get hit by any vehicles of any variety. Seem okay. Let's check out this orb. So I think they have to do with Nike and Louis Vuitton. I am not terribly fashionable, so I know nothing about this except for the fact that they exist. So this says Louis Vuitton Nike Air Force One by Virgil Abloh. I know there's many of these around the city, not just in Manhattan, but in the various boroughs. It says May 21 to 31, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Got some Snapchat codes if that's a thing you're into. Pretty interesting. I can't say I'm going to make my way to all of them. And there's the Empire State Building, which beautiful view. And if you're visiting New York City, you have Italy and the Lego store. Fun spots to visit. But we're going to continue our way down Broadway now. Look at all these flowers. So obviously doing some sort of decorating. Look how beautiful they are. The city's done a great job over the last couple years. It's really much cleaner. And we've been seeing just amazing floral installations all over the place. Really beautiful. Look at all this. That's awesome. And this is another thing that's kind of a recent addition in recent years are these pedestrian plazas where we've taken over the street, added seating. Oh, and we're big fans of it. Big fans. Lisa says, you're very fashionable, just not into high fashion. That was one big collab for LV and Nike. These exclusive Air Force Ones at auction were sold for about $600,000. Yeah, so I was talking to somebody recently who did at least fill me in enough on that, you know, that there are these collaborations that were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, suffice it to say, it's hard to wrap my head around. $600,000. Did they lace themselves like in Back to the Future? Do they come with a house?
So it's not a DVR picture, but
You will be surprised to know I was not the winning bidder. Sorry. So we are now walking down Broadway. We started on 5th, coming up on 20th Street. So our next major stop, Union Square. We've talked about it before, but there's just these buildings down here. Worth reading about. Ladies Mile and the historic department stores of New York City. A lot of them were in this general vicinity. And while the stores are, for the most part, gone, we still have the buildings, and they're so Prince Ice continues. That's pretty crazy. Anyway, the ones that are now going to be sold in quantity, so not just one-offs, but the ones for quote-unquote the rest of us, start at about $3,000. Still! Wow. I know, some folks are in the reselling game, and I can see how, I guess if you bought that for $3,000 and maybe you're able to flip it for $4 or $5 because they're sold out, you can make a couple bucks there. All right, coming up on Union Square. Just a random weekday today, so I don't think there's any green market today, but always fun to see the sights and good people watching at Union Square. So we'll do a little bit of that. Is that a pina colada that I see? Again, walking into the street, trying to avoid any vehicles. Oh, I was not mistaken. A Bailey's Colada limited edition. Or as I like to think of it, the breakfast of champions. My wife and I had lunch over here not too long ago, one of her favorite little sandwich spots. Not, it's a chain, so anybody could probably go as Potbelly. Had a nice sandwich there the other day. One of my favorite buildings is right there. Yeah, let's walk on this side. So this freestanding building right now, which reads Freehold, for a bit was a pizza restaurant, and they had a bocce, but it had closed. So now the signs look, maybe it's reopened. So maybe it was seasonal. Maybe it's reopening. building up ahead was a Tammany Hall building. But check out the ceiling on it. Looking pretty cool. Prince Ice says, love to see everybody heading to work. Yeah, I thought it would be interesting. You know, if you saw recently, I had a 6th Avenue video, which I was in Midtown around lunchtime, sort of late lunchtime, although in New York it is the same thing. And I thought today it would be interesting. We'd see the morning commute. You know, it's interesting any time of the day. There's always some unique aspect to the people that you'll see. Today's is the morning commute. We were on 5th Avenue by Central Park for a lot of it though, so those folks that we saw up there were walking their dogs, not commuting. But we did see, as we got into Midtown, more of the commuting crowd. And a lot of the folks that were walking by now, same deal. And it looked, I thought I saw for a second up ahead another graduate. We're seeing college graduate gowns all over the place right now. I'm still laughing at the idea of the $3,000 shoe. No disrespect to anybody who's bought those, but it does make me laugh. The only other thing is nothing, the sign says. And we have some art over here. And we will walk by one of Lisa's favorite stores in New York City in a moment. The Strand. What is the tagline? 19 miles a book, something like that? Let's go see the Strand. Pretty quiet in Union Square today. We didn't really see a lot of people, did we? Making our way south, our intended destination, the Brooklyn Bridge. Getting a serious workout in on our way there. And a ton of sightseeing. I was off by one. Chalk it up to inflation. If you're into chocolate, Max Brenner, chocolatier. Lots of wonderful buildings for Donna. Books up ahead for Lisa. And then as we go farther south, we'll get into Soho, south of Houston Street. So Prince Ice can do some shopping. A little something for everybody today. That guy had a serious sunglass and hair combination. Good for him. All right, the Strand up ahead. Looks like there's a line of folks waiting to get in. Maybe it opens, let's see what time it is, 9:52, so maybe it opens at 10, unless they're just shopping at some of the stacks outside. And highly recommend visiting the Strand and go to the 3rd floor, the rare books department. Yeah, open every day, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. But let's take a quick look at some of the specials outside. This is where you can get a good deal, especially a good deal, I should say. I'm kind of amazed people don't just walk off with these all day long. 18 miles of books. established 1927. This used to be a huge book-selling area, but the Strand is the survivor. And in fact, they've expanded a bit. They have a location. We've obviously passed the small one at Central Park, but they have a brick and mortar location on the Upper West Side of Manhattan as well. Photos from around New York says Rare Book Department is closed to the public unless it's a special event or book signing. Always recommend asking politely. You never know, they might let you in, but we have done events there as well, gone to see speakers, which is really, really fun, and they get really interesting ones. But good call out. And thank you for being here. Photos from around New York. Let's take a look into the churchyard here. It's a little noisy because there's some construction above me, but look how beautiful this is. Ah, Gregory Kelly is here. Gregory, I was hoping you would make it live. On our last live stream, you asked about the South Street Seaport, and we are headed in that general direction today, impromptu, but it is the Brooklyn Bridge's 139th birthday, and we're going to go wish it a happy birthday. So we're going to head in that general direction. So this is Grace Church, New York. I mean, really gorgeous building, gorgeous grounds. Beautiful, and recommend visiting. Broadway between 10th and 11th Streets. Just beautiful. When I get to the corner, I'll turn around so we can look at the top of the building. Isn't that wonderful? On this channel, we love a ornamentated, if that's a word, building covered in ornamentation. Ornate building, perhaps. Ah, so many friendly faces here today. It's a wonderful sight. Thank you all for the company. Feel free to hit that like button. It'll help other people join us as well. Or even hit that share button. So we're making our way to 8th Street, starting to enter the New York University neck of the woods, most of which is to our right as we face south. Washington Square Park off to our right. Gregory Kelly, that was Grace Church between like 10th and 11th Streets, Broadway. And I think on the other side is 4th Avenue. No cars, so we're gonna make our way onwards. We have a really beautiful breeze. Oh, it feels great. Something I've never heard of, must be new. Captain Cookie and the Milkman. Looks interesting. Astor Place barbershop, very famous barbershop. There was some There was the possibility that it was going to close during COVID, but I think obviously they resolved that. Great neighborhood barbershop. Been around for a long, long time. Sort of place where you'd develop a relationship with a specific barber and go back for years and years. So on the right side of the screen, a lot of the buildings that we're seeing are related to New York University.
Right here, too, Brad.
We are continuing our way south, however, so that we can celebrate the Brooklyn Bridge's 139th birthday. So it's probably a little hard to see, but in the very, 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 very center of the frame is the fountain at Washington Square Park. So this is one of the physics buildings. I forget the name, but it is the same style and the color of Bopst, the library. The library is a little farther to our right. I'll see as we get closer if I can get a shot of it, but it has Gregory, it has the exact same look. So this is West 4th Street, and if you see the red building in the distance, that's Bopst. And this building is one of the physics buildings, and at least this side of it has the same coloring and material, but you can see the other side of it is just brick. So I guess they chose to make the facing in the style of Bopst. I'll have to read about that. I don't know why they ended up looking so similar. Interesting. Thank you for calling that out. I hadn't really processed that before. Check out this blue and white building. Just everywhere we look is something gorgeous to see. Prince Ice says, really regretting for not applying to NYU, etc., to study in Manhattan, see the bigger world. Well, it's never too late. Just always visiting, travel, moving around. You know, I realize every circumstance is different, but you never know, and it is also never too late. Photos from around New York says, make sure to smash that like button, folks. Thank you for that. Love to grow the channel. Have new faces join us in the chat. If you are just joining, say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. And why not hit that subscribe button so you can join us all around New York City. And now we have this white building coming up. Another ornate, beautiful. Gosh, there's so many wonderful buildings. This is Bond Street, one of the brick-lined streets in Manhattan. A really fun one to walk across and see. Coming up on Bleecker Street, one of our favorite streets to walk down. Those familiar with the channel know we are pizza lovers. It also has John's on Bleecker Street, one of our favorites. And not far from that is Joe's near 6th Avenue, which is a great slice shop, probably the best in the city, or certainly one of the best. Lisa always gets mad at me because I don't pick favorites often. But if you were to ask me, you know, for what are my favorite pizzas, it would not be John's, but John's would be on that list. It would be a list, and John's would be on that list. That is a great spot, and it's one of the coal oven pizzerias in New York City. Coal imparting this amazing smoky flavor to the pizza. Super, super charred and crisp. If you're from out of town, if you've never had it before, you might try to send it back and say, oh, it's been burnt. No. Rookie mistake. It is perfect. Coming up on Houston Street, so we'll be entering Soho, south of Houston. Another great restaurant, since we're apparently in restaurant mode, is down there. It's called Emilio's, an Italian spot. Really good. Recommend that. Are those, so sorry, been kind of staring at the buildings, not at the chat. Gregory says, are those cast iron buildings? Yeah, I think there's a lot, especially, you know, when you see some of the old fire escapes and so forth, but some of the buildings themselves have cast iron ornamentation and balconies and so forth. When we saw the Cherokee building, pretty sure that was cast iron. That was really cool. Donna says the buildings are amazing. I mean, I'll just pause here for a second. These are, you know, totally nondescript buildings. I would, you know, if you asked me what name they have or who the architect was, I couldn't tell you, but they're just beautiful. And here's like 3 in a row, totally random, just stopped in the middle of the street. Hopefully no one behind me. And there's just like 3 in a row, they're just gorgeous. Totally random. Just beautiful. So this is Soho, we're on Broadway, just south of Houston Street. And there's tons of shopping around here. There's some great restaurants. You will spend a few bucks here. It's definitely not the cheapest neighborhood in New York City by far. But it's, you know, if you're doing a day of shopping or an afternoon of shopping or whatever, or just browsing, really fun. And there's some places to our right, or what would be west of us. But one of the famous spots around here that we do like a lot is Balthazar, which is like a French bistro, and great people watching. You're very likely to see, even if they're maybe not a celebrity, you'll see some very fashionable people there. It's fun people watching. Gregory says, used to live Charles Street near the corner of Bleecker. Well, we did a Bleecker walk a while ago. Worth digging up. I love Bleecker Street. Love all the side streets, especially as you go west. Photos from around New York says, top 2 bagel spots. So this is a good question. The one I talk about the most, I would say, is Essa Bagel. There's a few of them around the city. I think if you came from out of town and wanted to try a New York bagel and you went to Essa Bagel, you'd be totally pleased with that. You'd be like, oh, this is what I thought a New York bagel was. Another place that I really like is Russ and Daughters, which we trying not to tackle those people who aren't looking. Russ and Daughters I love. And we'll pick up some bagels, we'll pick up some latkes or potato pancakes. We'll pick up a couple black and white cookies. You know, that's a fun place where we'll get a whole sort of Jewish deli spread. And then another place, if we were dining in, that I think is fun is Sadel's, which is actually in this neighborhood. I was saying there were more restaurants to our right. It's in that direction. And if you're familiar with Carbone, Parm, it's by the same people who do those. It's kind of their version of homage to Jewish deli food. And you order, a dozen bagels for a few people, order way too much food. And they come out on a wooden stick, kind of like the old days, but they're freshly made and they're really delicious. They're very small, so that's why you order a whole bunch, but they're really good. So that's 3 answers. Hopefully one of them suits you. Prince Ice says, if you guys love pizza, Korea's pizza game is top notch. So we have a very close friend from Korea, and so we've talked, and I've seen pictures. I can't say I've had Korean pizza, but I've seen the pictures of different shapes and just incredible variety of toppings that we wouldn't normally, at least here, we wouldn't necessarily contemplate. So highly, it's big on my list to visit Korea one day. And I would love to try some of the pizza there. One of the things that's funny, I know in Asia, there's a huge pizza culture. When I was in Shanghai, I stumbled on a Joe's Pizza, which was very funny. And then in Japan, I know they have a huge culture around Neapolitan pizza, like the traditional Italian Neapolitan style pizza. Big pizza fan. Gregory says, love Balthazar. Yeah, the food is great. There's a Whole Foods near where we live where we do some of our grocery shopping. It can be a little expensive, so we don't do all of it there. But they get Balthazar bread. So anytime we're making food where we'll get bread, I almost always get a Balthazar baguette. So good. Prince Ice says, expensive, but Soho is really the place. It's my preference. So this is your favorite neighborhood, it sounds like? Yeah, it's a beautiful neighborhood. You have Washington Square Park, just nearby to go sit. Lots of amazing stores and restaurants and stuff. I just recommend having a very lucrative job so you can afford it all. But it is a beautiful area. It's always fun to visit. Lisa, if she's still watching, has a bookstore that we visited not too long ago. If you want to, was it one of those McNeil or something? I'm forgetting the name, but if you want to share in the chat the bookstore we went to recently, because it was like Independent Bookstore Day. All right, so we're still making our way south. Our intended destination, Brooklyn Bridge. 42% battery life. Thus, I'm not taking the most relaxed walk today. I'm trying to get there. And I thought the phone would cooperate. So we're gonna make it cooperate somehow. McNally Jackson, I think I called it McNeil, so sort of close. Right neighborhood of names. That was fun. It was so busy that day, and it was one of the first warmer days. There were tons of people out that day. It was fun. So as we go farther south, if we were to go right, our right, which is west because we're facing south, we'd be in the Tribeca neighborhood, which we know because we are coming up on Canal Street. And some would say triangle beneath canal. Canal also famous to our left. The neighborhoods Little Italy and Chinatown. To our right, Tribeca. This is like a flyby walking tour where I'm just telling you where things are but not taking you there. My apologies, but we have another destination in mind. Today at least. Though it has been on my mind, we'll definitely do some walks around Chinatown. I'm especially excited to do that with Lisa because after we do our walk, we will eat in Chinatown. My favorite restaurant there is Wo Hop, 17 Mott Street. Not to be confused with Wo Hop next door, which has a different menu, weirdly. Tribeca is also fun. We'll definitely do some around Tribeca. I'm guessing that hopefully it works out, but I'm guessing that the cell phone signals in Tribeca, just because of the density and the height of the buildings, might be interesting, but we'll make it work. You are very patient viewers. I appreciate that. So as we continue south along Broadway, we will get to another favorite neighborhood, at least for me, which is Civic Center, which, as its name implies, is home to the city government buildings, but also some federal and state buildings, which have really beautiful and interesting architecture. And tons of history as well. So if those things are interesting to you, you might be interested in the Civic Center neighborhood. Probably not specifically on everybody's tour list, but we like it. We like the buildings, we like the history. There's another gorgeous building. Looks like it's been cleaned recently, repainted, looks beautiful. Yes, Gregory, my wife, not on the stream today, but in the chat, my beautiful wife, Lisa. So I'm hoping, and I have a backup plan if we absolutely need it, I'm hoping that the phone battery will get us across the Brooklyn Bridge into Dumbo so we can see the gigantic skater in Dumbo. The backup plan is that I would have to replace the microphone with power bank, which I do have, but I would much prefer to just use the good microphone without power than power without the microphone. You would still hear me through the iPhone microphones, but it picks up all the wind noise and everything, and especially on the bridge, not as fun. So fingers crossed, which is why I've been walking somewhat quickly, that the battery will survive. So we just made a left, so we're going east now into beautiful Civic Center. Supreme Court up ahead, or Federal Court, whatever you want to call it here. I see a helicopter in the distance. There's the helicopter, if you can see it. I'll try to catch it as it comes through the other side of the building. I think we caught it. It's probably pretty small on the screen. Gregory loves the cast iron buildings. Yeah, I mean, they're just incredible. The architecture here, I mean, there's just part of what's interesting is you have the new and the old, but the gap between the new and the old is, you know, well over 100 years, so you have so many different varieties. So this park is where I sat and had lunch yesterday. Guess that's a preview of a video that will be coming soon. I've been doing the avenues one by one, or at least parts of them, big parts. And the avenue I took most recently was 7th Avenue. So subscribe. We have a 2nd Avenue video coming up, and we have a 7th Avenue video coming up. Probably tomorrow and the next day, if I finish all my editing. And if you watch the pre-recorded videos, one thing I'd want to make sure you're aware of is YouTube's chapters feature, which lets you kind of scroll around very easily in a video to different sections, but that's what I use to mark what we're looking at least like the really prominent sites or intersections or neighborhoods that we're passing through. So if you ever watch any of my recorded videos, which is the majority of what I do, make sure to check out the chapters. It'll tell you where we are.
How you doing, guys? How are you? Good, good.
So we have the courts down here. I was right, it's Supreme Court, 60 Center Street. And then we have the U.S. Courthouse. Ah, Freedom Tower. So much to see down here. So this is Civic Center, home to a lot of the government buildings, local, state, and federal. For example, the U.S. Courthouse, also known as the Thurgood Marshall United States Courthouse. Gregory asks, what software do I use for editing? I have gotten, originally I did no editing at all because I took these long form videos, and the whole point originally was, you know, just to capture them unadorned. And then for a little while was iMovie, and now is Final Cut. Been learning how to use Final Cut. Prince Ice says, Sean, do I have any plans for Discord? Not at the moment. I think it's a good question. I know lots of people use it and have interest in stuff like that. I think at the moment I like keeping it within YouTube. My wife has asked, for example, you know, Instagram or Facebook or Discord or other things. And I've done research on other channels. And certainly it can help some, and sometimes it works better than other times. But for the most part, I've not seen it dramatically increase or improve the quality of the community. So never say never, but at the moment, no plans. Gregory says, really appreciate chapters, helps to orient me. Yeah, that. I'm really trying to be more thorough with them. And basically every video that comes out, I'm really trying hard to include them. And that's the point, to help orient you and that's kind of the tour aspect of it. On the recorded ones, I don't want to get in there and like, you know, we'll point things out and do that stuff. But the other ones, the intention is to allow you to kind of immerse yourself. And some people don't. The compromise is to have it in the chapters. So if you want to see, just like on my TV at least, you press the up button and the chapters pop up. And you're like, oh, okay, we're in Tribeca or whatever. Is Jack McCoy nearby? I don't know what that is, Gregory, but feel free to let me know. And Donna, if you're watching, one of your, if not the favorite building, Woolworth Building, center of the screen, which is one of my favorite buildings as well. It's one of the most beautiful buildings in New York City, so ornate. Normally I would hop over there, but today we have a mission and a battery that is not endless, unfortunately. So we got our distance shot. I'll get another. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. Shows what I know. We can chalk this up, Lisa, to not fashionable. Every street is incredible. Wonderful New York. Greetings from Poland. Yeah, Andrew, thank you for calling that out, and appreciate the kind words. One of the original projects of the channel was to walk every street in Manhattan, which we accomplished and did it in 100 days. That's the bike path. So let's not, even though we don't see anybody, and even though we see a bike on the walking, yeah, we walked every street in Manhattan, top to bottom, 600 miles of streets, but about 1,200 miles of walking, if not more. And we recorded it all as our little memento to history. And on any, I have to go on mute because there's always music over here, but I'll come back in a second. All right, we're back. Just quickly on the Walking Every Street project, if you go to any of those videos, there's a link to a map. And I put lines for every block that I walked, and each of them links to a video. So if you can think of any spot in New York City that you want to see, you can see the video I took specifically of that spot. But the reason we're here today is it is the Brooklyn Bridge's birthday. 139 years young. Opened May 24, 139 years ago. Funny enough, I was, as I said earlier, eating lunch in a park nearby, and I thought about walking the Brooklyn Bridge and hadn't even put all the pieces together. But the reason I didn't walk yesterday, not even having processed that its birthday was today, was it was so covered in people. It was a beautiful day, it was the afternoon, and it looked like it was covered from people end to end. So I thought, oh, I'll do it another time. And then we learned it was its birthday today. So here we are. 139 years ago, opened to the public, with apparently a fireworks show for the ages, worth reading about. But literally tons of fireworks went off. Probably terrified every dog in New York City and beyond. Thousands of people crossed it. I mean, a true engineering marvel. One of our favorite sites in New York City. One of our favorite walks in New York City. So let's make our way across our beautiful bridge. As we get across, it's the B in BMW, Brooklyn, Manhattan. But definitely our favorite. So beautiful. So Gregory was asking about the South Street Seaport. There's probably a better view. We'll see it in a second, but center of the frame is the Seaport area. We'll get other views of it. Can you walk across the other bridges in NYC? Yes, you can. And we've done some of them, not all of them. If you've ever heard of the Great Saunter, which is a walk around the perimeter of the island, there's something called like the Great Bridges Walk or something like that, which is a path to walking them all. I think the idea is in one shot. I have no idea how many miles of walking that is, probably quite a bit. But you can also, of course, just walk them individually. Some are easier to walk than others, though, I should say. This one is, especially recently, they redesigned it and separated the walking path from the biking path. Used to be all up here. Now the biking path is beneath us. Of course, you have somebody like this who's riding a... You don't bike up here. I try not to be upset with people, but come on. Especially on a motored bike. Crazy. That was funny timing, though. But generally speaking, this is the easiest one to walk, I think. For example, the Queensboro Bridge, the Ed Koch Bridge at 59th Street, has a very, very, very narrow path that is shared between walkers and bikers. And I think it's one of the most dangerous to walk. So I don't really recommend that one. Even though it's beautiful and it's one way to get to Roosevelt Island, it's just so dangerous. So up ahead, I'll turn the camera so you can see the South Street Seaport again in Pier 17. Good view. Top, which right about now would be fun to visit, have a drink on top. And you can see a helicopter taking off from right nearby, Pier 17. And then that's the Seaport. And more people biking on the walking path. Guess we still have to do some education and enforcement. So coming up on the bridge's first tower. Beautiful. Soho says it should be a felony to ride a bike over the bridge. Lisa says, deep breath. I just think it's so funny because it was always terrible to bike across, just as it was to walk across, because they're so, people stop and take pictures and all sorts of stuff. So it was two incompatible forms of traffic. So they got a dedicated lane. So it's just funny when they won't use it. Oh well. As Lisa says, deep breath. So are the B and the BMW. There's the. And you can see the train going across. What do we think that's the M train? I'm forgetting, but I think it's the M train. Try to get it more in frame. There's actually two trains, one going east, one going west. That's cool. So these are lists of some of the people involved in the creation of the bridge. And then beneath it, reconstruction in 1954. Are going to be on the lookout for a different sign. We love the sign to Emily Roebling, who after the death of the original engineer, and then the great sickness of his son, who came in to replace him, Emily helped to complete the bridge. Just an incredible woman. So this is another sign from 1991 that also talks about the bridge but does not mention Emily. So we will look for our Emily sign or plaque. Prince Ice says, Brooklyn Bridge always reminding me of Godzilla. I had to say it. That's so funny. You can see Governor's Island in the distance here. Another site we will visit before too long. Waiting for a really nice day. Take the Governor Island ferry. Lisa M has the B, D, N, and Q trains cross the Manhattan Bridge, right? And the F train goes underneath like in a tunnel. Is that correct? It's like having Wikipedia at my fingertips. Beautiful. I really do think if you do nothing else in New York City, this walk is one of the best. It's so beautiful. The sights are great. Got a beautiful breeze today. try to see our very good friend. We're now far enough in. Statue of Liberty. And you can see the Staten Island Ferry. And Governor's Island. And then Freedom Tower. So there's so much to see just from one spot. Highly recommend this in your travel plans.
Gym heads, bro.
There was no gym heads, it was the fools, those mad old ladies.
On your left. Ah, interesting, Lisa. Looks like the F goes underground slightly north of the Manhattan Bridge, so not crossing directly underneath it. Where's Rikers Island? I think it's on the other side. Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong if you have access to a map, but when we take the ferry to the Rockaways, don't you pass Rikers along the way? And I think you go on the water. 5%, so we'll make it across the bridge. We'll get into Dumbo. And we'll get some awesome views from Dumbo. Gregory says, busy on the bridge today. I think it was busier yesterday. Sorry about the connection. Looks like we're coming back. We're at the second tower, and we found one of my favorite plaques on the bridge, which reads, "The builders of the bridge dedicated to the memory of Emily Warren Roebling, 1843 to 19. Husband, Colonel Washington A. Roebling, 26, complete the construction of this bridge from the plans of his father, John A. Roebling, 1806 to 1869, who gave his life to the bridge." Quote, "Back of every great work we can find the self-sacrificing devotion of a woman. This tablet erected in 1951 by the Brooklyn Engineers Club with funds raised by popular subscription. Anyways, thank you for bearing. We go, making our way to the Brooklyn side of the bridge. Second tower with that beautiful dedication to Emily Roebling. So it's quite a story if you want to learn about it. But the father died during the construction. Son replaces him and then gets terribly sick during construction from Caisson's disease, what we now know as the bends, from some of the work that they were doing to sink the supports of the bridge. So he was sick in bed, and his wife, Emily, helps to complete the task for him. So I always find it a little funny, all of the tributes to the father and the son, which of course are very relevant, but we are especially mindful of the woman who completed the task. Why don't we pause here and take a look at the second tower, since we missed it a little bit with the connection issues. So a big happy 139th birthday to this beautiful bridge. Looks like we have some wedding photography taking place. And that woman was holding onto a 3D camera. Pretty cool. So we are on the Brooklyn side now. Amazing story of the bridge. I've said it before on the last time we walked the bridge, but my best recommendation is the Ken Burns documentary about the Brooklyn Bridge, which you can probably find on PBS, Public Broadcasting here in the United States, or wouldn't shock me if there are clips of it on YouTube. But the story is incredible, the engineering is incredible. The fact that it's lasted so long and remains beloved is incredible. Worth seeking information out. Lisa says, "Hope I look that good at 139. My beautiful wife always looks good." That gentleman was doing some hand etching of the bridge. Wow, very impressive. Gentleman with his GoPro. Big filming day on the bridge. Lots and lots of people today. I think we've now passed at least 2 school groups. How fun would that be to be in school in New York and get to, as part of your lesson, walk the bridge? It's awesome. So there's a couple paths out of here. You can continue straight for a bit, but up ahead to, which is what we're going to take, because we want to check out Dumbo down under the Manhattan Bridge overpass, starting with the most magnificent view of the Manhattan Bridge, and then we're going to go hunting for our skater. And if you're saying, skater, what are you talking about? Well, I certainly hope it's still there, and we'll go check it out. Prince Ice says, I'm glad they managed to restore the bridge after Godzilla destroyed it. We do good work here with that unionized construction labor. We do good work. So we are making our way to one of the exits from the bridge, the one that is a little more convenient for us to go see the Manhattan Bridge, the M in BMW. We will not be seeing the Williamsburg Bridge today, though. I think we're going to stay closer to the Brooklyn Bridge after a little sight of the Manhattan Bridge. But quickly, nice sign. Here we are, Cadman Plaza. Down in Brooklyn. I'm going to pop across here if I don't see any traffic. Just feels like there's a fewer people on this side. Action is so if I see it go really bad, just because it cutting in and out is not as fun. Lots of things to do on this side. Tons of restaurants. Jane's Carousel. Many, many, many photo opportunities all over the place. There's shopping at the Timeout. Sort of shopping center. There's rooftops to take pictures. There's just a ton to do over here, so I really recommend it. Prince Ice says, oh, by the way, I heard it's pretty pricey to maintain the bridge, like in the billions of dollars. I mean, that's a great question. So one of the funny facts about the bridge is that it's resting on sand. I don't know if that has anything to do with the maintenance costs, but it is not embedded into bedrock like you would think, you know, like a lot of the skyscrapers, for example. I mean, Manhattan has this amazingly tough rock underneath it, which is why we have the skyscrapers, like why the city developed the way it did. But I forget if it was money reasons or just time or some combination, but they couldn't get the tower, they couldn't get the supports all the way down to the bedrock, so it sits on sand. And it makes me wonder if that's part of the maintenance, but I'm sure, the painting and the corrosion and the brick and the metal, it doesn't surprise me that it would be incredibly expensive to maintain. All right, here we are. One of our favorite views in New York. I really wish they would just block the street off, because this is why you come here. And I don't know if you can see it. I'll walk slowly forwards, but if you look in the gap at the bottom level of the Manhattan Bridge, that is the Empire State Building, which we walked by earlier today. So look between the two legs of the bridge, and that's the Empire State Building straight ahead. Isn't that something? It's a beautiful view on its own, but the fact that it captures the Empire State Building like that on top of it, it's like too much, right? Isn't that incredible? So we're going to get in everybody's photos today so that we can take our own. But isn't that amazing? Okay, let's do some photo bombing. You can probably see it a little better now. Let's get the whole bridge. I wasn't going to say it, but Lisa says it. It's kind of an iconic site. Trying to hold the camera very still so you can see Empire. Very iconic. And then if you turn the camera, there's more of the bridge. It's just beautiful. You can even see little, it's probably hard to see on the camera, but you could see little figures walking across on the Manhattan Bridge, just like we did on the Brooklyn Bridge. It's one of my favorite views. It stops you in your tracks. Even if you'd never seen it, in a movie, on an album cover or something, I think you'd just stop there and you'd be like, that's amazing. So, Washington Street here in Dumbo. Walk across the bridge, take that first exit, and there you are. Now to make our way a little farther in and away from some of the noise, if we can. It says this is called the Main Street Playground, and it also has signs called Story Walk, where you can take a picture with your camera and it'll link, it sounds like, to stories. That's cool. Great for the kids. That he played the drinking game my wife suggested, which was take a shot every time I said the word iconic. He was wasted in 10 minutes. I hope it was fun. The good kind of wasted. Oh, guys. I think I see our skater. Prince Ice says the golden spot. Want myself and Dumbo for a profile pic one day. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this, does it? All right, we're gonna try to make our way down.
Houses are
Very, very, very large steps. I mean, these are some of my favorite views in the city. So Prince Ice, you're not wrong. Prince Ice says, currently this is my iPad wallpaper. Excellent. Walk is a good example of what has to. We often, New York can often sec.
Não, era 45 a Time. E o McDonald's ele vai desviar quando você virar, você viu o mais novo do cara.
All right, I think our connection's coming back. I was saying, if you live in New York City, sometimes it can seem small. And what I mean by that is you often, you can build your day-to-day around your specific neighborhood, and only walk a few blocks to get a lot of what you need done. But today we walked from the Upper East Side down Fifth Avenue, and now we're here, and paper. So we've made it to Jane's Carousel, which is a survivor in a couple of ways. Most recently, a Hurricane Sandy survivor. That's named after Jane. With her picking it up on the cheap and saving it. And now it's an amazing place to visit today. That's a good question. I'll defer to Lisa on what she wants to do. Plans for I will defer to Lisa. We found our skater. Let's go read about it. Yes, you did. See, what would we show? What would we stream? Should we take suggestions? Sign reads Louis Vuitton and Nike Air Force One. Lisa says the skater was one thing on the list. Uh-oh. I will follow the rules and my wife's advice and not climb it today. Much coming to the end here. Birthday. All right, I see the connection slowly recovering. Yeah, it's too bad. I'll try to get, well, let's at least go over to where the ferry is. Thankfully, we got most of it. So I'm walking underneath the bridge, and actually this little part is called the Emily Roebling Plaza, so that was cool. There was a sign, but I think the connection was totally gone at that point. Facing Ignazio's Pizza, our favorite. There's two others over here, Giuliano's and Grimaldi's. Our favorite being Giuliano's. Really recommend that. And up ahead, one of my wife's all-time favorites, the Brooklyn Ice Cream Factory. Highly recommend that as well. So we'll go over to where the ferry is. Ooh, and another one of my favorite sites. Sky Bridge. Prince Ice says Brooklyn needs 5G. You know, you never know what you're gonna get these days for whatever reason. I thought, you know, fewer people, but maybe it's related to the weather or who knows. Who knows? Considering we've gone 2.5 hours, you know, we had a couple pretty bad cutouts, but we've walked nearly 8 miles, so 2 cutouts in 8 miles. It is what it is. So if you were to come over here, this is where you could pick up the ferry, head over to Wall Street, for example, cross across, and visit South Street Seaport area, one of Gregory's call-outs. Get thirsty, Lismonade, which who knows, might be part of my lunch plans at some point. Still a little early. Says the original fruit infused lemonade, $5. But we still got a little battery life left, so we're gonna go over to the end over here. I see some more sculptures. We'll get some good views. I know there's some tables up ahead, so I'm gonna put the camera down once we find a nice table. I brought myself 2 bottles of water today. And I'm going to attack at least one of them. And we'll get you some good views as we say our goodbyes. And if I could knock on wood, I would. That, you know, at least we have some connection now. Gregory, I did see that you chatted, you did like the skater sculpture. This says Black Atlantic, Togetherness and Union. I'll point at the plaque in a second, but I want to get the art first. Love how much public art there's been in this city lately. It says it comes from the Public Art Fund, so I'm gonna have to read about them because they're doing incredible work. So read about Black Atlantic Brooklyn Bridge Park. It looks like there's many locations of the art. We're just seeing one. We don't have enough battery for the others, unfortunately. We'll do that again one day. But let's go put our camera down and let's have some water and let's say goodbye. I don't know if you can see in the distance, Statue of Liberty. Well, big thanks to everybody for being here today. Let's see, what's the best view from this spot? That's probably the best view from this spot. Oh, getting some water out. Big thanks to everybody who joined today and stuck around. I know we had some connection issues here and there. Unfortunately, a couple of the cool spots, but thank you for bearing with it and bearing with me and sticking around for the ride. Love all the familiar faces. Thank you for coming back to our channel. Taking a big drink of water now. Wishing everybody a really good day. And if this was your first time on the channel, leave a like, subscribe, come back for more. We do tons of walks all around New York City. Try to share a little piece of New York City every day. Your support means the world to me. And so does getting to spend this time with you guys. So thank you for being here. Thanks for popping on an unexpected one. Big birthday. All good birthday wishes to the Brooklyn Bridge. If you're in the New York area, check it out. Let us know what you think. And I'll see you on the next one. Hopefully Lisa will be on with us on next time. So thanks everybody. Have a great day. Take care. John W., thank you.